America's classic ballparks lead a seasonal existence. The silence of a long, empty winter is broken each year by the exuberance of spring. And a frenzied ritual called Opening Day.
Opening Day is like a national holiday to me. I take this day off as soon as January 4th comes around. I put in for this day of vacation.
Come summer, Major League ballparks become cathedrals of sport, and the religion is baseball. The devoted fill the stands on sunny afternoons and starry nights. The ups and downs of the season drive these baseball buffs to both curse and worship their heroes. Ballparks never look better than when filled and decorated for the Fall Classic, the World Series.
For that pitch swung on, line grabbed by Matthews, who cuts from third, and the World Series is over, and the Milwaukee Braves are the new world champions of baseball.
As the bats fall silent and the ballpark empties for another winter, fans are either rewarded with the bragging rights of a championship or asked to remain optimistic until next season, when this cycle begins anew. Constructed of steel, brick, and mortar, ballparks are not living things. It is the people who work, play, and cheer inside that breathe life into ballparks. From the collective groan of a rally-killing strikeout to the thundering cheer of a game-winning home run.
Swinging a fly ball, right field and deep. Get up, and get out of here. Gone for Swain, and they've done it again.
Ballparks become a venue for the communal exchange of emotions. Where else in today's society can you unabashedly share a tear or a high five with a total stranger? For the better part of 47 seasons, Milwaukee County Stadium has been the embodiment of a ballpark brought to life. This is her story. The greatest players of the second half of the 20th century played on this field, and the greatest fans in the world fill these stands. As a shining new ballpark, the Milwaukee Braves and County Stadium shattered league attendance records. In the years that followed, fans would witness both National and American League pennants, 2 All-Star games, 3 World Series, and a World's Championship. Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers dominated pro football here, and a young quarterback named Favre dove into stardom. Through the decades, there would be no-hitters, Bambi's Bombers, Harvey's Wallbangers, the Brewers' '87 streak, and 3,000 hits for the Kid. From the greatest pitching performance in history to the final jewel in the crown of baseball's home run king, these are the legends and the legacies of Milwaukee County Stadium. County Stadium was born in the prosperity and optimism of post-World War II Milwaukee. Milwaukee was a growing city on a Great Lake with a rich ethnic diversity. A city known for its manufacturing muscle and made famous by beer. By the late 1940s, Milwaukee was the 13th largest city in America, and community leaders wanted desperately to join the big leagues. Milwaukee had a baseball team and a stadium, but neither was Major League. The team was the Milwaukee Brewers, a minor league franchise of the Boston Braves. At times, the Brewers were among the most talented teams in the minors. Many a Brewer went on to bat in the big leagues. The Brewers played at Borchard Field, a wooden rectangle with Little League foul lines and no parking. For years, a pet goat grazed the infield to save money on mowing. Built in 1887, it was originally called Athletic Park. The name of the ballpark was changed in 1919 after Otto Borchard bought the Brewers. By the late 1940s, Borchard Field was in splintering decay. To move up from the minors, Milwaukee needed a new ballpark. After years of debate, Ground was broken for County Stadium on October 19, 1950.
It was, to me, one of the really most remarkable acts of courage and vision that I've ever seen. They built this ballpark. There's no tenant here other than the old Milwaukee Brewers, who are still playing in beloved Borchard Field. And that's going to be the tenant.
It was both an act of faith and necessity. The Brewers needed a new home, but community leaders had dreams of something bigger. They hoped County Stadium would attract a big league franchise. However, there was no prospect of expansion, and no team had moved in decades.
There were 16 teams, and nobody could have thought at that point in history that a team would leave the East Coast corridor to come to Milwaukee.
By March 1st of '53, County Stadium was finished at a cost of roughly $6.5 million. The Brewers had a new home. Seemingly overnight, everything changed. On March 13th, Boston Braves owner Lou Perini announced his intention to move his team to Milwaukee. On March 18th, the National League owners approved the move, and Milwaukee goes wild.
Will you state in your name?
Operators at the Braves office were besieged with calls for tickets. When the team arrived at the train station in Milwaukee, more than 12,000 screaming fans were there to welcome them. The Braves manager was Charlie Grimm, and on paper, that was the outlook for the team. In Boston, the Braves had been one of the worst teams in baseball, but on this chilly April day, they were greeted like conquering heroes. The team's motorcade route from the depot to the Schrader Hotel turned into a parade of epic proportions. A crowd conservatively estimated at 60,000 jammed downtown Milwaukee to greet them. Later that day, at the team's first workout in their new home, Grimm, a career baseball man and former Brewer manager, declared the welcome was without equal.
Well, it's one of the greatest things, I believe, that I've ever seen in my entire baseball career. Surely, I've been in a lot of parades, championship parades, but this one here in Milwaukee this morning topped them all. This is the greatest reception, I believe, that any ball club ever received from fans of any town.
Milwaukee was in a state of dreamlike euphoria. In 1 month, their shining new ballpark had indeed brought them a big league team. The first game at County Stadium on April 14th was naturally a sellout.
Opening day, the Braves are playing the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, it's hard to believe. What it did for Milwaukee was unbelievable.
A capacity crowd of 34,357 watched Braves ace Warren Spahn battle the Cardinals' Jerry Staley.
We'd gotten out of school. I was a freshman in high school, and they gave us off because it was such an exciting time that we could have this beautiful stadium. I'd grown up in a neighborhood, Borchard Field, and I was one of the knot-hole kids who used to sneak down the street and look through at the old Brewers. And so it was exciting to have a major league team here. And so they gave us off from school, and we came down here on the bus. It was awesome.
The Braves did not disappoint their adoring new fans. Billy Bruton blasted a home run in the bottom of the 10th for a 3-2 victory. County Stadium proves to be the perfect first date for a love affair between a team and their fans.
We had full houses practically every day out here at County Stadium. It was one of the most wonderful stories I think baseball has ever seen develop following this ball club. Every night out here was a big party.
The fans that packed County Stadium in 1953 were enthusiastic, but not too knowledgeable about baseball.
They were not baseball fans. They were just fans. They were mad, really. There's a fellow came in to see the Braves play here, and he called County Stadium an insane asylum of basis.
Milwaukee fans were so ecstatic to have a team, they cheered wildly for everything, including the other team.
I grew up in Wausau, Wisconsin, and we used to listen to the Braves on radio. They used to cheer foul balls. Balls would go down the net, and you could hear the fans cheering the foul balls when the Braves moved here in 1953.
So prized were those foul balls, the Braves broadcast team of Earl Gillespie and Blaine Walsh netted them for souvenir gifts to charity. Residents and staff at nearby Veterans Hospital watched games for free from a hill above the ballpark. County Stadium became the place to see and be seen.
It was a social event to come here and watch the Braves.
As this promotional film of the period attests, to be out of touch with the Braves was to be out of touch with mainstream Milwaukee.
Maybe all the dishes aren't done, but it's time to head for the ballpark. Nothing so important as that. This is more fun than housework.
It was aberrational to a point that I'm not sure there is another comparison. You had to be here. That's all people talked about. People that didn't know a fair ball from a foul ball, but they knew to be seen at the Braves games.
Fan enthusiasm and a few preseason acquisitions transformed the former 7th place finishers from Boston into legitimate contenders. If you were a Brave, you were one of the state's biggest celebrities. Fans showered players with gifts, but not always with positive results.
The players were treated like royalty. They were given free milk, free laundry, free this and free that, and a free car to drive.
In one game in May, Max Sirkon set a major league mark with 8 straight strikeouts. However, it wasn't his pitching prowess, but rather his Polish ancestry that garnered him adoration and his favorite food.
Max Sirkon, he got free Polish sausage. He was Polish. And the Polish fans in the South Side responded to him.
Unfortunately, consuming huge quantities of free sausage took its toll on Max's midsection and his pitching.
He pitched very well for a while. He had a pretty good record. Then he got too fat. He worked himself out of the big leagues, ate himself out of the big leagues.
The first season of big league baseball proved to be a feast for fans. The Braves finished in 2nd place, behind the powerful Brooklyn Dodgers. Attendance at County Stadium totals 1,826,000, a new National League record. A sports success story known as the Milwaukee Miracle had begun. One week after the Braves finished their season, the Green Bay Packers made their first appearance at County Stadium. The Pack will play a portion of their home schedule here for 41 seasons. It is not a winning debut. Green Bay is crushed by the Cleveland Browns 27-0. 1954 was another historic year for County Stadium and Major League Baseball. The honeymoon between the Braves and their fans was far from over. The turnstiles spin to the tune of $2.1 million, making Milwaukee the first National League city to crack the 2 million mark. Trees are planted beyond center field to provide a better backdrop for hitters. The grove is nicknamed Perini's Woods, after the team's beloved owner. It became a favorite planting ground for brave sluggers like Joe Adcock. The team finishes 3rd in 54, but introduces a rookie whose bat will rewrite the record books, Henry Aaron.
I started my professional baseball career in the state of Wisconsin, in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So actually I was, when I first got here, I was perhaps one of the best, the one athlete that came through the organization that Milwaukee could claim that was one of their own.
A year later, Aaron is an all-star along with teammates Eddie Matthews, Johnny Logan, Del Crandall, and pitcher Gene Conley. Next to a World Series, hosting the All-Star Game is the biggest thrill for fans. In 1955, County Stadium was the site for the Midsummer Classic. What a thrill it was to see American League legends like Ted Williams and Mickey Mantle in Milwaukee. The game is a classic clash of titans. Logan and Aaron both drive in runs, but knotted at 5 runs apiece, the game goes into extra innings. Gene Conley delights the partisan crowd by striking out the side in the 12th. Stan the Man Musial ends it in the bottom half of the inning with one mighty swing, a game-winning home run to give the Nationals a 6-5 victory. County Stadium again hosted more than 2 million fans in 1955 and 56. The only chapter missing from the Milwaukee Miracle story was a championship. In 1957, the Braves had all the pieces in place to win it all. In Hank Aaron and Eddie Matthews, they had baseball's greatest home run duo. Perennial 20-game winner Warren Spahn was again the best left-hander in baseball. In mid-season, the Braves acquired outstanding second baseman Red Schoendienst to team with Johnny Logan in the infield. By September 23rd, it all boiled down to this. If the Braves could beat the St. Louis Cardinals, they'd be the champions of the National League.
I was taking an accounting course at UWM, and I was going to class, and I had never cut a class in my life. I was a very conscientious student. And I said, I can't go to class. So I came here. Well, they were not sold out, almost sold out. They had a couple of single tickets in the upper deck, and that's where I sat, all by myself.
The game is the quintessential County Stadium nail-biter. A 2-2 tie in extra innings with Billy Muffet on the mound for St. Louis.
Now in the 11th inning, here comes Hank Aaron. And he hits the ball to left center field.
The pitch to Henry Aaron, a swing and a drive back into center field, going back towards the wall. It's back at that fence.
You couldn't tell for a fleeting moment. It was a rifle shot of Hank, so you knew that it was really hit. It looked like it was going, but, and then it went. And it set off this really wild scene.
And is it caught or not? It's a home run. The Braves are the champions of the National League. Henry Aaron just hit his 43rd home run of the year. Holy cow.
Here I am, 23 years old, sitting in my hometown, watching the Milwaukee Braves win the 1957 pennant, and I cried.
It was a scene that in retrospect transcended baseball.
A Southerner, by the name of Joe Adcock, lifted Hank Aaron above his shoulders as a tribute to Henry Aaron's homer. Now that to me was, talk about integration. That was an example of it.
While Hank is being hailed as a hero in Wisconsin, racial tensions are erupting in violence in Arkansas.
New York Times said the next day, the day they carried a black man off the field in Milwaukee while they were riding, Little Rock shows the paradox in this country.
County Stadium hosted its first World Series game on October 5th, 1957. The visiting New York Yankees are the defending world champions. Upon arrival, the Yankees referred to Milwaukee as Bushville, implying a minor league atmosphere. The city's competitive fire is fueled, but behind the bat of Milwaukee native Tony Kubek, the Yanks pummel the Braves 12-3. Milwaukee evens the series the next day thanks to a good shoe shine and a wild 10th inning rally. With the Yanks up 5-4, the Braves' Nippy Jones claims a pitch by Tommy Byrne hit him on the foot, but umpire Augie Donatelli says he didn't see it. Jones argues the ball be examined. When a spot of shoe polish is found, Jones is awarded first base. Johnny Logan doubles in the tying run. Eddie Matthews steps up and blasts a 2-run homer to win it. On October 10th, Lou Burdette shuts out the Bronx Bombers in Game 7 at Yankee Stadium for his 3rd victory of the series.
And the World Series is over, and the Milwaukee Braves are the new world champions of baseball.
The photograph on the front page of the paper says it all. Bushville wins. Warren Spahn receives the Cy Young Award as baseball's best pitcher, and Hank Aaron is the MVP.
greatest thrill I ever had in baseball, bar none, was the year that we clinched the pennant here in 1957, when I hit the home run off Billy Muffet, and we were able to go and defeat the Yankees in 7 games. That, to me, was probably the greatest thing that ever happened to me as a ball player at that time.
The Braves are again the class of the senior circuit in 1958. The team captures another National League pennant and returns to the World Series. However, the 1958 World Series is a County Stadium memory worth forgetting. The Braves blow a 3-1 lead and lose to the Yankees. For the first time since 1953, the team fails to draw 2 million fans. The Braves and Dodgers tie for the pennant in '59, but Los Angeles beats Milwaukee in a playoff at the LA Coliseum. It will be the Milwaukee Braves' final postseason appearance. County Stadium does witness near perfection in '59. On May 26th, Pittsburgh's Harvey Haddix pitches a perfect game for 9 innings, but he's locked in a scoreless tie with the Braves' Lou Burdett. Haddix remains untouchable for 12 full innings, retiring 36 straight batters. It is the greatest pitching performance in baseball history, but not enough to beat the Braves. In the 13th, Felix Mantilla reaches base on an error, and Haddix walks Hank Aaron.
That was the end of his masterpiece. Adcock came in and hit a homer. But Hank Aaron went to second. Instead of going around, he went back to the dugout, so he was out.
In a bizarre ending, Adcock is called out for passing Aaron on the base path. The final score is ruled 1-0. A heartbroken Harvey Haddix hurled history's only perfect loss.
Lou Burdett was the pitcher. Gave up 12 hits and he won the game.
1959 also marked the year Vince Lombardi made his County Stadium debut as coach of the Green Bay Packers, and a dynasty was born. By 1961, the Packers were unstoppable. On December 3rd at County Stadium, Jim Taylor runs for a team record 186 yards. The Packers beat the New York Giants 20-17 and clinch the Western Division title. A few weeks later, the Packers pound the Giants 37-0 to win their first NFL championship under Lombardi. The new decade did not bring a return to the top for the Braves. The team's slot in the standings began to slip, and so did attendance at County Stadium. At the start of the '61 season, some fans stayed away because they could no longer bring in their own beverages. The county board passed an ordinance prohibiting carry-ins of beer, liquor, or soda. The Battle of the Six-Pack swung back to the fans' favor in 1962. The board partially overruled the previous decision to permit fans to carry in canned beer. However, it wasn't all about beer. In 1962, attendance fell below 800,000, and Lou Perini decides to sell the team to a group of Chicago businessmen.
Recently, as I've been thinking things over, I believe that a good deal more could be accomplished here in Milwaukee if new owners took over.
With the sale, the marriage seemingly made in heaven between the Braves and Milwaukee would soon deteriorate into a messy divorce. There was still plenty to cheer about. Warren Spahn won 20 games and threw no-hitters in 1960 and 61, the latter at the age 40. In August of '61, the ageless left-hander won his 300th game, ensuring a spot in the Hall of Fame. Future Hall of Famers Aaron and Matthews continued to terrorize opposing pitchers. Rumors of a move to Atlanta began in late 1963. The Braves made a run at the pennant in '64, but finished 5 games out of first. However, fans' attention was focused on a bigger game going on off the field.
1964 was a nightmare. Denial, and then finally they went. And And that winter, we formed an organization called Teams Incorporated, and I was just a young man, 30 years old.
Teams Incorporated, these men have got together, they've spent their own money, they've spent their own valuable time, and they've attempted and are attempting to keep baseball in Milwaukee. And I certainly want to commend them. They've done this on their own, strictly voluntary, so they need all the encouragement they can get.
In October of '64, National League owners approved the team's move to Atlanta, but ordered the Braves to stay in Milwaukee for the 1965 season. The former love affair was now a legal battle. An antitrust suit is filed against the Braves and the league in an effort to keep baseball in Wisconsin. The Braves owners respond by signing a 25-year lease to play in Atlanta's new ballpark.
We ran the 1965 season here because the Braves management had literally been run out of town.
Although a crowd of 33,800 turns out for the Braves' final home opener, most fans felt a sense of betrayal and loss.
The city of Milwaukee as a whole lost, not just the baseball fans. There's too many people involved that lost, the bus drivers, the gasoline, the motels, and all those other things. That's what you lose when you lose a ball club.
Bitter about becoming a temporary home for another town's team, only 500,000 fans come to County Stadium the entire '65 season. The Braves chairman stated from a business standpoint, the owners were discouraged.
We've made every effort to make this thing go here, and our most severest critic, the leading paper here in Milwaukee, as recently as a year and a half ago, said that we were doing the finest job in promoting baseball that ever been done in Milwaukee. And we've done everything we can to renew the even part of the interest that existed in the 50s. We've got a contending team here this year, and already now we're still very much in this. We're beating Sandy Koufax tonight, but the support has been, at best, very limited.
Others within the organization were frustrated that the owner's solution was a move to Georgia.
And I think that baseball and the National League in particular and the Braves owners handled this entire matter in a very disgraceful manner. And I think that not only the fans of Milwaukee and Wisconsin or the press in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but all over the nation feel the same way about the Milwaukee situation. I think the only way the National League and baseball can rectify the situation is to return baseball to Milwaukee, where it once gave baseball a tremendous shot in the arm.
Still, a mere 12,000 fans attended the Braves' final home game at County Stadium on September 22nd, 1965. There were standing ovations for Eddie Matthews and Hank Aaron, but little else to cheer about.
A woman came up to me, a handicapped woman, who I recognized from seeing out there. And she walked up. I was sitting with Ed Fitzgerald, who was at that time president of Cutler Hammer and was my most active partner with the Milwaukee Brewers. And she said, "Are you Bud Selig?" And I said, "I am." And my heart sank, and I thought, you know, I wasn't quite as used to that then as I am today. And she said, "I want you to know something." And then she then started crying. She said, "You don't know how much this has meant to me and to my friends and to a lot of people here. They've broken our hearts." And then she looked at me, and there were going to be a lot of lonely nights coming and a lot of heartache, and she pointed her finger at me and said, "Young man, don't you fail, because you're all we got." And I never forgot that.
The Braves lost to the Dodgers 7-6 in 11 innings. As Milwaukee Braves, Matthews and Aaron had surpassed Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig as baseball's all-time home run duo. Their sad exit from their field of greatness was forever frozen in this famous photograph. Following the game, there was optimism among fans that Selig and Fitzgerald would bring big league ball back to Milwaukee in short order.
But I honestly feel that we perhaps might be without Major League Baseball for 1 year, if that long, but no more than 1 year.
As the lights went out, little did fans realize the lights would rarely come back on for the rest of the decade. The story of the Milwaukee Braves, the only team in history to never have a losing season, was over. It would be 5 long seasons before another baseball team would call Milwaukee and County Stadium home. A long, lonely winter gave way to a season of isolation in 1966. One local official proposed using the idle ballpark as a drive-in theater. The only tenant in County Stadium was Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers. The defending NFL champions won all 3 games they played in Milwaukee, outscoring their opponents by a whopping 117-16. The Packers won the NFL title in 1966 and in 1967. On November 12th, they scored a record 35 points in the first quarter. Donnie Anderson scores 4 touchdowns, and Travis Williams returns 2 kickoffs for touchdowns as the Packers bury the Browns 55-7. On December 23rd, the Packers clinched the Western Division title again behind 2 touchdowns from Travis Williams. The 28-7 victory over the Los Angeles Rams is the final game coached by Vince Lombardi at County Stadium.
Vince Lombardi, really, the years we didn't have a team, was so helpful, and he really did a lot to help us.
Young Bud Selig was a fanatical fan of baseball and his hometown. As the point man for an organization now called Milwaukee Brewers Baseball Club Incorporated, he was determined to right the wrong he believed had been perpetrated on Milwaukee by the Braves and Major League Baseball. Unable to get a new team by the summer of '67, Selig and his partners organized an exhibition game between the Chicago White Sox and the Minnesota Twins.
Everybody here told me not to do it, it would fail, and further add to this Milwaukee being a bad baseball town, and 51,144 people showed up.
There were so many people here, they actually stood people on the warning track. There were that many, it was an overflow crowd. People stood on the warning track for the game. And so a ball that went into the warning track was a home run because it was filled with people.
White Sox owners were so impressed with the turnout, the team agreed to play 10 games at County Stadium in 1968 and '69. One game in June of '69 featured the Sox against the expansion Seattle Pilots, a team that would eventually determine Milwaukee's baseball future. Unfortunately, a deal to sell the White Sox to Selig in '69 is pulled at the last minute. In the meantime, both leagues turned down Milwaukee's bid for expansion. The outlook for a franchise was bleak.
I would go to meetings, and you couldn't get anybody to say hello to them. People who today, or even 2 years later, became very good friends of mine. I wanted to say hello, but there was so much animus because of all the litigation and so much hatred that it was embarrassing. I told people you felt like I had and we had in Milwaukee, Wisconsin had leprosy. It was that bad.
In early 1970, Milwaukee had one more shot. After just a single season, the Seattle Pilots were in financial trouble. Despite efforts to keep the team in Washington, the Pilots owners were headed into bankruptcy and willing to sell to Selig.
I knew then if we didn't succeed there, the story was over. Because that really was going to be it. There was no expansion contemplated, and they weren't going to expand to Milwaukee anyway.
Finally, it happened. County Stadium and Milwaukee's baseball future were decided in federal bankruptcy court.
It's about 10:15 on the night of March 31st, 1970. And I pick up the phone at home. I'm nervous, obviously. And this voice says, "You got it." And it was Lloyd Larson, the sports editor of the Milwaukee Sentinel, who had seen the AP wire had just come over, and he beat my lawyer to the phone.
The Pilots are purchased for a paltry $10.8 million. Just 6 days later, it is a scene right out of 1953. 8,000 fans jam Mitchell Field to greet the new Milwaukee Brewers. Sheriff's deputies were needed to part the sea of well-wishers.
Well, it's got to mean a great deal to not only to me and the coaches, but to the players, and we just hope we can repay you as quickly as possible.
That's a good way to go.
Thank you. Let's rip California on Tuesday, huh?
Attaboy.
After 5 years of bitter disappointments and soul-searching, Selig was triumphant.
That was, to me, will always be my proudest accomplishment. I just cannot tell you how much satisfaction I take from that.
On April 7th, 1970, County Stadium welcomed its new American League team, and 37,000 fans. Milwaukee was once again a big league city. It was a feat that didn't go unnoticed outside of baseball.
My first telegram was from Vince Lombardi, who was then in Washington, congratulating me on a job well done and your patience and persistence, and that meant a lot because he was very helpful when he was here.
Unfortunately, the Brewers' debut did not have a storybook ending. The team is pounded by the Angels 12-0. It didn't seem to matter, even to the owner.
I've often joked it's the only game the Brewers ever played. I didn't care whether they won or lost. I was just so happy to have a team. But you know, after you got beat 12-0, then you realize now you got to start to get to work.
Milwaukee's new team is not good. Nevertheless, they immediately attract a small but loyal following, including a 69-year-old retiree named Milt Mason. Milt couldn't understand why, after 5 years without a team, the crowds weren't bigger. So he vowed to stay in a trailer atop the stadium scoreboard until the Brewers drew a crowd of 40,000. Milt is dubbed Bernie Brewer and stays in the sky for 41 days until a turnout of 44,000 brings him sliding down a rope on August 16th. Mason's antics gave birth to the Bernie Brewer mascot. The Brewers managed just 65 victories for the 1970 season and finished 33 games out of first place. The 1971 and 72 teams were not much better.
They were still calling us the Braves, and there was still a lot of anger here, and wherever I went, even with the Brewers, well, the Braves are, no, I mean, well, they didn't know who we were.
This handsome young guy found the games interesting enough to take up residency in the broadcast booth. The Brewers still haven't found a way to get rid of him. In 1973, things start to turn around. The Brewers win 10 straight under the direction of former Braves catcher Del Crandall. The team takes 3 straight from the Texas Rangers by a combined score of 30-9. Texas manager Whitey Herzog accuses Bernie Brewer of stealing Ranger signs from his center field chalet. Bernie has no comment. Fans return to County Stadium en masse. The team draws over 1 million for the season. In a move that would define the future of the franchise, the Brewers draft a teenager by the name of Robin Yount.
I go to spring training in '74, a year later, and Del Crandall says to me in Arizona, well, the kid's going to play shortstop. And what were you talking about? This is Yount. He's 18 years old. Well, he's going to play shortstop. And I looked at Jim Wilson, I looked at Del, and I said, look, you guys are running a baseball operation, you must be nuts.
I realized that I had a lot to learn, but the lucky thing that for me at the time was we were in a situation here with the Brewers of, the organization had never played 500 ball yet. It was 4 or 5 year old organization, and there was not a lot of pressure on the club to win yet. And an 18-year-old kid learning to play in the big leagues, you could get away with at that time with this organization. Had I been with a number of other organizations, it probably never would have happened. But that was one of those deals of being fortunate, of being in the right place at the right time.
The following season, the Brewers add experience in the form of a legend.
I think Bud and I met, and I told Bud, I said, Bud, I said, you're not going to get the same player that left Milwaukee 15 or 16 years ago. I said, I got a slower bat. I slide into what I think is second base. I don't hit as many home runs as I used to. He said, I don't care. He said, I want you to come back and finish your career in Milwaukee. So I'm very thankful for that, that the Brewers allowed me the opportunity to come back here and finish my career where I started.
Since his departure with the Braves in '65, Hammer and Hank had achieved the unimaginable, breaking Babe Ruth's home run record. Now he was back at the ballpark where it all began to help a new team build its future.
I knew that he was near the end of his career, but he was Hank Aaron, and he brought so much class and dignity. We had a very young team, young Robin Yount, and so on and so forth. And so having Hank here for 2 years was a huge thing for us. It gave us permanence, it gave us stability, it gave us a lot of things.
Good morning, Milwaukee. WTN. downtown Milwaukee. Now 68 degrees under overcast skies, but it's going to clear with the temperature in the mid-80s today. Perfect for baseball.
Baseball's best returned to County Stadium in 1975 for the 46th All-Star Game. Milwaukee is represented by Hank Aaron, first baseman George Scott, and 51,000 fans. A bases-loaded single by the Cubs' Bill Madlock keys a 3-run ninth-inning rally to give the Nationals a 6-3 victory. In the summer of '76, our nation celebrated its bicentennial. The greatest home run hitter in history was playing in his last season. On July 20th at County Stadium, Hank Aaron drove a Dick Drago fastball over the fence for his 755th and final home run.
At that time, I never thought that it was going to, as mentioned before, I never thought it was going to be my last home run. I never thought it was going to be my last hit. But in the back of my mind, somewhere, I thought that there was absolutely not many more games left in this body.
In late 1977, Selig rearranges the team's front office in what came to be known as the Saturday Night Massacre. New general manager Harry Dalton hires George Bamberger as the team's new manager for '78. County Stadium becomes known as the home of Bambi's Bombers. Over the next 3 seasons, led by Larry Heisel, Gorman Thomas, Ben Ogilvie, and Cecil Cooper, the Brewers hit more homers than any team in baseball. Something special was again happening at County Stadium.
They watched Harry Dalton come in here in '78 with Bamberger and along with some new young players and a couple veteran free agents and begin to build over a 5-year period that had a continuum, and there wasn't really a lot of change in terms of people having to adjust to new players. Yeah, we had some trades and maybe had some key guys that helped us get there. But it really was on the rise for a 5-year period, and I think that created something that was very special. And the personal relationship that the fans felt with the various characters that we had on that team added to the bond that I think the players felt with the fans.
A heart attack and health concerns forced Bamberger to retire. His replacement, Buck Rogers, leads the Brewers into the postseason for the first time in the strike-shortened season of 1981. The Brewers faced the New York Yankees in the Eastern Divisional Playoff. County Stadium came alive with the excitement of postseason play for the first time in decades, but the fans' jubilation was short-lived. The Yankees beat the Brewers 5-3 in Game 1, and Reggie Jackson blasts a 2-run shot in the 9th inning to give New York a 3-0 victory in Game 2. Milwaukee rallies to win 2 in a row to tie the series in New York. However, the Yankee bats proved too powerful for Brewer pitching. The Yanks ripped 3 home runs to win the 5th and deciding game 7-3 at Yankee Stadium. Nonetheless, the season is a success. A franchise record 1.9 million fans come to the ballpark. Relief pitcher Rollie Fingers wins the Cy Young Award and the American League Most Valuable Player. In June of 1982, former All-Star and Milwaukee native Harvey Keene replaced Rogers as the Brewers skipper. Under Keene, the Brewers would blast a league-high 216 home runs and earn the nickname Harvey's Wallbangers. Bernie Brewer did a lot of sliding into his mug that season. Keene's club posts the best record in baseball and captures the American League East crown. The Brewers face the California Angels for the American League pennant. After the Angels sweep the first 2 games in California, the ALCS comes to County Stadium. The Brewers are not friendly hosts and take 2 in a row to set up a deciding Game 5. Trailing 3-2 in the 7th, the stage is set for what many say was the most unforgettable hit in Brewer history. 2 outs, bases loaded, and Cecil Cooper at the plate.
Cecil motioning to the ball and then looking and seeing Gantner and Charlie Moore hugging each other at home plate. It looked like they were going to kill each other. And just the excitement and the electricity in the ballpark, and of course that being the game-winning hit for the American League Championship.
When Cooper ripped that base hit to left for the go-ahead run, 55,000 fans went wild.
I think the loudest I ever saw County Stadium was when Cecil Cooper's base hit drove in 2 runs in the 5th game against the Angels to give us a lead in that 5th and deciding game.
In the 9th, Pete Ladd forced Rod Carew to hit a one-hopper to short, and with that, the Brewers were headed to the World Series against the St. Louis Cardinals. In 1982, Milwaukee had won 95 games, the best in the majors, but the Brewers would enter the series without their bullpen ace, Rollie Fingers, and face a St. Louis lineup loaded with talent. The matchup was dubbed the Sud Series in recognition of the two cities renowned for brewing beer. It was Milwaukee's Brewers who put on a baseball clinic in the series opener at Busch Stadium. Mike Caldwell pitched the game of his life, a 3-hit shutout. At the plate, Paul Molitor set a World Series record with 5 hits, and Robin Yount tallied 4 hits of his own. The Brewers beat the Cardinals 10-0. St. Louis came back to win Game 2. As the series headed to Milwaukee, it was knotted at a game apiece. It had been 24 years since County Stadium had hosted a World Series, and a record crowd of 56,556 was ready to cheer the Brewers to victory. Unfortunately, this guy ruined the party. Cardinal rookie Willie McGee ripped 2 home runs and robbed Gorman Thomas of a homer with this circus catch to preserve a 6-2 St. Louis victory. In Game 4, the Cards looked to have the contest in hand with a 5-1 lead in the 7th. With 2 out and 2 men on, Jim Gantner's double scores a run and ignites a rally. Molitor walks to load the bases for Robin Yount, who promptly drills a single to right to score 2 more. Still trailing 5-4, the Brewers load the bases for Gorman Thomas. Thomas responds with a single to score 2 runs. The ballpark shakes to the rafters. The Brewers win 7-5, and the World Series is again tied. Game 5. The final game in Milwaukee is the 3rd straight record crowd of over 56,000. Mike Caldwell is back on the mound, but is not as effective as he was in Game 1. The Cardinals bang out 14 base hits, but plays like this by Paul Molitor and a diving catch by Charlie Moore keep Caldwell and the Brewers in the game. Robin Yount provided most of the offensive support. Rockin' Robin posted his second 4-hit performance of the series, including this home run to right field. The Brewers win 6-4 as fans storm the field. Milwaukee is just 1 victory shy of a championship. But it was not to be. Back in St. Louis, the Cardinals win Game 6 and 7 to take the '82 World Series. An estimated 150,000 fans turn out for a parade to honor the Brewers. An unprecedented show of support for a team that lost the World Series. The parade ends with a rally at County Stadium.
We ball players are down, we're dejected. We didn't win the 7th game of the World Series. We all wanted it so badly, but you can never tell by the people here. I mean, they are diehard fans.
The 20,000 fans at the ballpark cheer loudly as Robin Yount makes a grand entrance on a motorcycle. Pete Vukovich is named the Brewers' second consecutive Cy Young Award winner. 1982 is the year the rest of baseball recognized what fans at County Stadium had known for years, that Robin Yount was baseball's best, the epitome of an unselfish, hard-working shortstop.
To me, the best player that I've ever seen play, and the things that he did, there's nothing like seeing him turn the corner at second and run to third off a single, that's down the right field line when he's on first. It's just awesome to watch him run and the way he plays the game.
Yount collected a league-high 210 hits for a .331 batting average and was the unanimous choice as the American League's most valuable player, an award he would win again 7 years later at a different position. What those voters didn't know and couldn't know is how he played through injuries that would have sidelined most players. To get Yount to sit out a single game was almost impossible.
The call would go, your kid's acting up again, because that's what he became to be known by everybody. So I'd go down, and one day Harvey called. This was in '82. And I said, I walked in the clubhouse, and I can still remember Mauder and Gantner and Yount sitting over there, and as soon as the door opened, they started groaning. Because whenever I came, it was either to, I wasn't coming down to pat them on the back at that point. I did a lot of that, but in those days, I did spend a lot of time with players, because I really enjoyed it. They were just great to be around. But Robin knew while I was there, and I said, you're not playing today. I talked to Dr. Jacobs, and he said, you can't play, and Harvey didn't want you to play. You're hurt, and you're going to take a day off. And he got mad, and he was throwing things around, and I can still remember Mauder and Gantner cleared out of there because they saw this was serious, and they were not going to get stained by any of this, and nor do I blame them. I said, you're not playing, and that's the end of the discussion. And he was really upset. And he said, please, and I started walking out, please. So we went over in the corner, and I explained to him, Robin, as close as we've been, your health is more important to me than you're hurting yourself. He said, I know that. And he did know that. And we were, in a wonderful sense, in a way, in the same relation with Hank, protective of one another. But he looked at me and he said what every athlete, or maybe every human being should say, but boss, he always called me boss, I'm a ball player. That's what I'm here for. And that epitomized Robin Yount.
Another memorable year at County Stadium came in 1987. It's the Brewers' first full season under manager Tom Troublehorn. The club will earn the title of Team Streak. When Juan Nieves hurls the first no-hitter in club history to bring the Brewers' record to 9-0 to start the year, the first streak is on. Come Easter Sunday, the Brewers are battling the Texas Rangers for their 12th victory to start the season, an American League record.
I remember I was in law school. I was very close to my final exams, should have been studying, but like so many people, got swept up into the winning streak and came out here. It was a beautiful day, down 4-1 in the bottom of the 9th inning. And of course, Rob Deere ties the game.
A curveball! Drilled to deep left. Gonna get way out of here and gone for Deere. And they have tied it at 4.
Deere's 3-run shot sends County Stadium into delirium. But it would get better.
Gantner, there he goes. The pitch, a swing and a fly ball. Right field and deep. Get up and get out of here. Gone for Swaim. And they've done it again. 12 in a row on a 2-run blast by Swaim to win it. Oh my goodness. Holy cow. Do you believe it?
The following night, the Brewers would equal the Major League mark of 13 in a row with a victory in Chicago. The next streak wasn't as much fun. In May, the team loses a club record 12 in a row. Opposing teams were awestruck by pitcher Teddy Higuera. Higuera would string together 32 straight scoreless innings. 1987 would produce one more streak. Paul Molitor's pursuit of Joe DiMaggio. Joltin' Joe had hit in 56 straight games in 1941, a record considered unbreakable. Paul Molitor was a career 300 hitter, and on July 16th, he got hot. No pitcher could keep him from stroking his way onto the bases for over a month. During the streak, whenever Molitor would step to the plate, fans were on their feet. On August 25th, the streak reached 39 games, the 7th longest ever. The next night, the streak came to an end. The Brewers' Rick Manning drove in the winning run against Cleveland in the 10th inning, with Molitor standing in the on-deck circle. Brewer fans booed Manning relentlessly for his heroics and for preventing Molitor's next at-bat. Molitor congratulated Manning for winning the game, but Brewer fans never forgave him. County Stadium fans have a history of cheering for the opposition if history is in the making. They applauded Oakland's Rickey Henderson for setting a new single-season record for stolen bases, even though he beat Ted Simmons' throw and Robin Yount's tag. During Nolan Ryan's bid for his 300th victory, County Stadium looked and sounded like a Texas Rangers home game. After Ryan beat the Brewers 11-3, the fans cheered Ryan some more. In the final weeks of the 1998 season, Brewer fans got caught up in the hype of the home run battle between the Cardinals' Mark McGwire and the Cubs' Sammy Sosa. Both men hit homers in back-to-back series in Milwaukee, and 50,000 plus stand and scream their approval. Brewer pitchers naturally felt betrayed. Still, the most heartfelt ovations were reserved for members of the home team. County Stadium may have sustained structural damage from sonic waves in 1994, when in the final seconds of the last Packer game at County Stadium, a young Brett Favre dove into the end zone to beat Atlanta and put the Pack in the playoffs.
Favre is on the run. Favre is down the sidelines. Favre, touchdown! He dived into the end zone, and the Packers score with 14 seconds to go.
Unbelievable. What a lunge by Brett Favre. I've never seen anything like it, Jim. What a play. What a way to get this team into the playoffs.
I think the most emotional I ever saw this ballpark was the 3 games leading up to Robin Yount's 3,000th hit. You know, to need 3 hits with 3 games to go on a homestand, and according to Bud's script, get 1 per day and take it down to the last at bat or second last at bat of the last game, the emotion continued to build.
The 0-1 pitch. Swings, and there it is! A base hit into right center. He's done it. 3,000 for Robin.
On that historic night in 1992, Robin became the 17th player in history to collect 3,000 hits. Even in his finest hour, leave it to Robin to be thinking first about his team.
The night I got my 3,000th hit was kind of a downer for me personally. We ended up losing that game. I made the last out of the game. I lined out to shortstop to end the game, and I can remember when, you know, we were in the middle of a pennant race at the time, and every game was big, and I was more disappointed after that game that we had lost and lost a game in the standings than I kind of faked it, being excited about the 3,000th hit when the game was over. I mean, it was certainly a thrill the moment it happened, but I was pretty bummed out when that game ended.
When Robin got his historic hit, the first players to congratulate him were Paul Molitor and Jim Gantner. Yount, Molitor, and Gantner were the best of friends and the backbone of the Brewers during the success of the late 70s and 80s. When the team needed a clutch hit or a critical out, one of this trio would usually deliver. They played together for 15 seasons at County Stadium, unheard of in the modern era of free agency. Together, they collected 6,399 hits the most by any three teammates on any club ever. Molitor and Gantner left after the '92 season. Molitor to free agency and Gantner to retirement. Yount played just one more year without them. Molly, Gumby, and the Kid will always personify Brewer baseball, and those who saw them play will remember their special bond. County Stadium has been a place where relationships were formed between a team and their fans.
This ballpark and I have a love affair. And of course, I've always had a love affair with the people of Milwaukee and the people of Wisconsin.
Between fathers and sons.
First time I came here, I was 6, and now I'm 13, so I've been coming here for a long time. I love it here.
And between a father and his daughter.
I go back to my earliest memories. I loved coming to the ballpark with my father. For me, we couldn't leave the house early enough, had my own little rituals. I like to get autographs. There aren't that many things that you can say transcend, your youth, your teens, your 20s, in my case now my 30s, and it really does. And in each decade, it's played such an important role for me personally.
It's amazing a structure seemingly so imposing and so lifeless could provide so much happiness to so many. From wrestling matches,
with the steel cage that's been tested by the Harley brothers downtown at the factory, they said, oh yeah, Hulkster, we know the big fat giant's head won't fit through the cage, but I'm gonna make it fit.
To rock concerts.
Look at them speakers, man. Wow. Mighty big, A lot of sound, a lot of sound.
Save myself from falling.
From a modest burger or brat before a night game to an annual opening day tailgate extravaganza. County Stadium in some way has enriched the lives of all who have paid her a visit. More than 100 million spectators have enjoyed the various events here. Granted, the grass still looks the same, but this ballpark has weathered 48 years of happiness and heartbreak since that inaugural season of 1953. While it still can warm you on a sunny day, it is old and brittle. The time has come to say farewell.
I'm going to miss it. I really am. I love County Stadium.
Well, what it means to me is the end of a lot of memories. I actually like this stadium, and I raised my family here.
Ask any ball player and he'll tell you there's comfort in that old glove that helped him make it to the big leagues. But there comes a time when you need a new one to compete. 15,000 of us broke ground for Miller Park in 1996, and now rising before our eyes is the ballpark by which all others will be measured in the 21st century. Saying goodbye is bittersweet. I saw this old ballpark in its first year, and I see it now in its last. It's a lot older now and a bit more run down, but hey, aren't we all? I saw it as a fan, as a player, and for the last 30 years as a broadcaster. Your thrills of victories and agonies of defeat will never be forgotten. Hey, my first Major League home run, right here at County Stadium. Oh, there were a few more, but out of that first one, in my hometown, what a thrill. But honestly, I can't wait to get to New Miller Park. But for one man, saying goodbye won't be so easy, for the memories go deeper. As a fan, Bud Selig watched in awe as a big league ballpark was being built in his hometown. He sat in the stands the night the Braves won their first pennant and was stunned when they abandoned Milwaukee for greener pastures in Atlanta. Selig fought harder than anyone ever had to bring baseball back to his city, and he succeeded. The Milwaukee Brewers have entertained us ever since. In 1998, he was named the 9th commissioner of Major League Baseball and handed the reins of the Brewers to his daughter, Wendy. For Bud Selig, The end of a half-century of memories here at County Stadium.
It's time to move on. But when they tear it down, with it will go a lot of memories, and I'll have a lot of sadness. There's no question about that. I guess in the end, I don't know what I'll do the day they really begin tearing it down, other than to say thank you in the most heartfelt way that a human being could say thank you to a structure like that.
So it is with a twinkle in our eye we look to the future of Miller Park and the joy it will bring. But as the lights go out for good at County Stadium, we say thanks for the memories, and so long, old friend.